Hello and welcome, everybody. I'm Dena Crowder, and my mission is turning you on, specifically turning on the evolutionary leaders who are here to use their star power to shift the status quo. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Rosalyn C. RainDancer. She is based out of Vancouver, Canada, and yes, she is one of these extraordinary evolutionary leaders. As a business development expert, as a consultant, as a leadership trainer, she is at the forefront, on the cutting edge of assisting conscious CEOs, most especially, and business people with being a holistic, integrated, and successful leader. So today we're going to be talking about royal archetypes. What archetype is Rosalyn, and why is it essential to know and embody that royal archetype in order to create success in her business and also to answer her calling? Hello, Miss Rosalyn.
Hello, Dina. It's such a pleasure to spend time with you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. I love talking to you because there's always such a surprise. There's so much depth with you, and you are always more than you originally seem and present, which is so true of practically everybody who's one of the royalty archetypes, but especially because the archetype that you represent is the queen. Are you aware of this?
Divaness, queenliness is something that I actually love to revel more in. And I'm excited to learn more, honestly. This is a very exciting topic for me. When my sister and I were visiting each other, we were not living in the same city, and we found ourselves in the same city. And we were actually sharing a hotel room because we were traveling. And I simply wanted the bed a certain way, and we were actually sleeping on like one bed. It was just like old times, you know. She was my sister, and we're pretty comfortable doing that. And I wanted the bed a certain way, and I wanted my things a certain way, and she just, after a few minutes of me sort of fussing and futzing with my environment, she completely was exasperated because she isn't like this. She's very minimalist, actually, very functional. She goes, why do you have such a diva? And in that moment, I was actually catapulted to when we were children, and she would have similar comments. Maybe she didn't know what a diva was, but she just would not like how I was so particular and have these preferences and tastes that she didn't really have. And I felt that in order to be loved by her, and she was my big sister, so loved and accepted, and to spend time with her, I needed to not be that, you know. And same goes actually with my family. I always stuck out as a little bit different and quirky and weird, just different. You know, I mean, the typical term is black sheep, but I actually call it purple sheep, just to be a little bit more different.
You were speaking earlier, you said something that I really, like, the alarms went off. You said, I help CEOs with whatever their pain in the butt challenge is. And specifically, I help them not only to solve it, that's my genius, but in a way that is the quadruple bottom line, prioritizing purple. Oh, I can't get away from purple.
Love purple.
I know. Purple people. Purpose, people, profit, and planet. Then I asked you, well, what is your pain in the butt challenge as a CEO? and you told me about being put in a box, being reduced. And now what I'm hearing you say is, well, yeah, I've had these experiences all my life where people have been telling me you're a queen, you're a sovereign, you're a big deal, you're a leader. But when they did it in a way to attempt to put you back in the box. How do you relate to that?
Story of my life right there. Basically sums it up.
There are 5 royal archetypes. One is not better than the other. We shouldn't aspire to this one or that one because it's more valuable. They're all necessary. Of course, the royal archetype that you represent is the archetype of the sovereign, or the queen herself, I like to call it. And the queen herself is the leader. The queen herself is the one who has the vision and who is delegating to all the different members of the court and the realm how this vision should be implemented. It's the one who says, okay, this is the way we're going to do it. And the queen is the one that you resonate with. It's the one that you personally have been identified as, even by your family, as a very young child. Sometimes, they were identifying you as it, and they were putting you in a little box, or attempting to maybe have you kind of tone it down a little bit. But the thing is, you can't, because embodying that sovereign presence is absolutely essential for your wholeness as a being, for you coming into your integrated power, and for you also answering your calling. I want to talk about why it's so important, like why you couldn't just pick another archetype and walk around as that and call it a day. Well, the reason is because the lessons that you have had through this particular incarnation, and if you relate to the soul having had other experiences, through those other experiences, were designed perfectly to give you the lessons of leadership that relate specifically to the archetype of the queen herself. And one of those lessons that I believe you've had is the lesson of exile. I wanted to bring that up because it feels very much like the experience of exile, which is super painful, has been necessary, like a necessary wounding and healing process for you to deliver your message. How do you relate to that?
Cool. First of all, I'm really digging this queen archetype. I feel like the more I hear about it, the more I'm like, where has it been my whole life? And I feel like this is what I should have been studying in elementary school and high school and university. You know what I mean? It should be a queen university. There is actually a queen university in Canada, but I don't think they teach this stuff. So it's absolutely brilliant. Thank you for sharing more. Whew. And at that age, I actually could relate to that image because that was my experience emotionally in my inner world, living with my family. Mm-hmm. And, that experience of, I didn't call it exile when I was younger. It felt to me like alienation. Mm-hmm. Alienation, isolation. However, when I was a young adult and my early 20s, I did experience like a true, what I would call exile in the more literal sense, I was actually disowned by my family for a decision that I made. And it really did happen. And when it did happen, it was surreal because I didn't actually expect that that would happen to me. And when it did happen, I went through a moment of, wow, this is just like, you know, in the novels that I used to read that, you know, and it was part of a love story. I had made a decision to move to a different city with my then boyfriend, and who was Caucasian, and we were an interracial couple. And my parents just wouldn't have any of it, deeply, deeply disapprove. And so they decided they were going to disown me on the phone. And so that life experience, I believe, looking back now, though highly, highly traumatic, and I don't really wish to go through that again, it actually defined me as a person in terms of really standing up for my own decisions and really living my truth and following the journey that is meant for me, regardless, and in fact, despite any kind of opposition from even those that I love the most and those that I should have felt the most sense of belonging. Whew.
Woo. Take a breath.
That's my experience of exile, and I do absolutely relate to that experience. And this is probably the first time ever that this story is going to be public. It's going to be on your channel, right? Wow, thank you for the opportunity. And I don't know that I would have been ready to share that even 6 months ago. So thank you for the opportunity to share.
Going public, huh?
Yeah, coming out as a queen. I should have a coming out party.
Let's have one. So, disowned on the phone.
I still remember. I remember the exact words, the exact, you know, yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, disowned on the phone is like Sex in the City when Carrie gets broken up with on a Post-it, only like to the 100th power. This is modern exile. You will be disowned on the phone. It is a royal decree. Hear ye, on the phone. And you know what comes to me, Rosalyn, is Queen of England, Elizabeth I, because she had an experience of exile. She had an experience of insecurity because there was so much political intrigue going on at the time. First, her brother was the king after her father died. And then her crazy Bloody Mary sister was the queen. She was killing all these people for religious ideology. And before that, let's face it, her mother got beheaded by her own father. So she never quite felt safe. She always felt like maybe she was going to face universal disapproval. She was going to face perhaps even death. And this training of being able to stand up, which is exactly what you said, stand up and navigate universal disapproval and instability, insecurity, not really knowing if the people who you thought were going to support you are actually going to continue to be allies. This is one of the classical training programs, curriculum for Queen herself, sovereigns. It cuts deep, and if you make it to the other side, you now have a skill set that is just unbelievable in terms of being able to be a proper leader, and if you also add in the consciousness, which you do, and the heart-centeredness and the wisdom, oh my goodness, you are everybody's dream of a benevolent, cooperative monarch.
Yeah, graduated, it seems. I graduated, for sure. Have you ever had those moments where you're just so in the deepest, darkest, dark night of the soul, and it's just absolutely gut-wrenching? You feel like, you know, your gut's about to spill out and your head's about to explode, and you're, why am I here? And then you have this realization, even maybe 1% of you, right, realizes this must be happening for a reason. Like this is for something. And that's actually how I've felt my whole life. And anytime I find myself in those places, I knew, part of me knew deep down that it was for something. It had to be, otherwise, you know, I would have gone cuckoo a little bit. So that actually has been my saving grace, is knowing it is for something.
Yes. Yes, it's for something. And it's not just for something, it's for something very specific. You've been on a specific training program whose purpose is to assist you in embodying the evolutionary version of the Queen herself, which is the way that we understand sovereignty or enlightened, benevolent monarch, but also I kind of updated for the Aquarian age, which is all about cooperation and all about uplifting and raising the frequency of all of those who we meet and all of those who we don't meet, but who are on the planet, because it is time to have the status quo shifted. It is time to really be thinking in new ways about how we do business and how we set up civilization and how we set up our spirituality and our health and well-being. All of these areas that comprise human life and culture are meant to be touched in this age by persons like yourself who have been rigorously trained for years and years and years and years, and through many soul polishing experiences to sit on the throne of the new royalty, which is not about the ego, but about the cooperation and the collaboration of the best of our genius. So that's really when you say you've been through these challenges. You know, all the people who are my people, the new royalty people, we got some deep pain. We've gone through some deep pain. One of the gates of any of the royal archetypes is betrayal. So exile, you've had that. Not everybody has exile, but everybody has betrayal. And on the other side of it, when we complete that circle of that archetypal wound, there is a gem, a treasure of wisdom, which, like the hero or the heroine on that journey, the hero's journey, we're meant to bring back and offer to whoever we're here to serve. And that's really what I see in you, and why it's essential for you not only to play around with the idea, like as a cute idea, oh, I'm a diva, I'm a queen, but to know it, to drink it in, to embody it, and to begin to familiarize yourself with, as if this were a script, like the beats in the script, the beats in your journey that are part of that archetypal training, because that will allow you to then take action and align your planning and your visioning of how you do your business, how you do your mission, because you'll have so much clarity. One of the things that you said to me earlier was, that you're frustrated because many people in the business community have a reductionist and isolating approach to problem solving. Well, this is where your genius comes to life, your genius as a sovereign. You're meant to utilize all of these lessons in power that you've had previously to be able to offer to people what you've called an integrated approach, because you've integrated the lessons of power. Does this ring true for you?
Wow. Yeah, that's, you know, that really is the crux of my brand, which in fact is called the Conscious CEO Experience. And I do firmly believe that CEOs of businesses that are here to make a great impact socially, economically, environmentally as well, they're the people that I want to guide and support, because they're going to be the leaders of businesses, which in our age is still the, I would say, the prime institution of our time, right? Business. And so I do firmly believe that it is business who's going to change the world. You know, I have been in social change work for about 13 years now, since I was a university student. And in fact, if you really ask me where did my training start, is when I was a child and I refused to sit like a girl, but that's a different story, right? And so it's business that's going to shift things. It's not going to be nonprofits. It's not going to be government. And I have been in those spaces doing change work in those spaces. And I've chosen business as my queenly playground, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And there's so much hunger and desire from business leaders that are or either already conscious or want to be more conscious in their leadership. A big highlight for me is the idea that I've gone through this rigorous, official, unofficial training throughout my life to prepare me for this level of leadership. And it's something that I had known intuitively, but to have another person actually see it and validate it is really quite something. I have a question for you, though.
Yes.
What if I relate to 4 out of 5? How does that work? I hear that you say I'm the sovereign, which makes sense. However, I relate to the warrior. I also relate to the artist. Like, I have a creative, pursuits, or more than one creative pursuits. And what was the third one?
The wise counselor?
Yes, the wise counsel. I don't.
Guess what?
Necessarily have to be on the throne, but I love being a wise counsel to another royal, right? Like, so.
Yeah, you're perfectly normal, because I relate to every one of them as well. And in fact, I've been to every one of them as well. I mean, I relate most strongly to the queen archetype as you do. That's the one that's most calling me forward at this particular time in my life. However, I am also really an embodied wise counselor. I mean, that's pretty clear. And
that's pretty clear. I love the gesturing.
Awesome. I got that one going. And I do have the other ones going too. One of the main ways that we identify the warrior is that they have this stamina and this tenacity, this persistence, this ability to inspire loyalty and rally others to a cause. Well, I got that one too. and so forth and so on, even down to the royal court and the royal family, because I have had some of my best experiences being on a team and supporting someone who was uber famous and in the spotlight. So it is pretty natural that you might relate to all five, but there will generally be one that's the one that let me say it has the buzz. That's the one that's at the forefront, and that is the one that you are kind of like leading with, for lack of a better way to describe it. But the others may still all be there. Now, not everybody is like we are, Rosalyn. And again, it's not better to be able to relate to all of them than it is just to relate to one. Some people only relate to one of them, and that's just fine.
Perfect. I love it. I hope to be able to chat with you more about archetypes.
It's been my exquisite pleasure talking with you today, as it always is. I'm so happy that I've been able to illuminate a part of your path and really your leadership. It's really been amazing. And to everybody else, thank you so much for being with us. I know that you got a transmission and some great wisdom from listening to this conversation. And so, as always, with great love and great respect, I welcome you again and again to this star path. Lots of love, everybody, and see you soon.
Bye.